Hi, it's Richard. Welcome to the Conscious Marketer podcast. Hi, Kylie. How's it going today?
Hey there, pretty good.
And we're going to talk about decision making in businesses. And I think that it's such an important topic. And we're going to approach it a little bit differently. And I'll share on this podcast, I'm going to share one of the techniques I've used for probably the past 20 years, actually, to navigate my way and really to be guided not only by what I would call strong projects or directions that have some thought forms behind them, but also tapping into deeper levels of wisdom and kind of higher self soul based decisions where where I'm aligning when I make a decision to what I feel is mine to do. So this is really, I think, a really kind of cool episode. Is a little bit different from some of our more tactical episodes, but in some ways there's nothing more tactical than making a decision that aligns you with your life path. So let's just set the frame. And I think the general frame for a decision is I group decisions into generally when I'm trying to make a decision, I am looking for kind of the energetic alignment and financial alignment. And normally something falls within three separate categories. And the first category is no. And so, it's just no. It's just no, I'm not going to do that. No, I can't take that on as a client. No, we're not a good fit. Or no, whatever decision is. No, I'm not going to take the trash out or walk the dog or, so the decision making doesn't have to just be business. This could be used for anything really, but we'll try to focus it on business and clients since that's most relevant. So I think that's category one is no. Category two is neutral or maybe. And I think that a lot of things land in this neutral zone. And I think we'll talk more about this when something's neither yes nor no, it's just kind of blah, it's just kind of neutral. And then the third bucket is yes, and it's yes, this person should be a client. Yes, I'm meant to do this. Yes, this is an amazing opportunity. And so I think if we start by seeing that a lot of decisions aren't yes, no, but they're yes, maybe no, there's these three buckets. It's if you think of a light switch as on or off, but if you've ever had a light switch be caught in the middle, that's a really bad place to be. And so that's kind of the framework that I think of okay, how do I make efficient decisions where they go into one of these categories? And we can talk a little bit more about how to make the decision next. But Kylie, I'm just kind of curious if you have a different framework, because that's kind of the framework I think through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I know that makes sense to me. And I like the light switch in the middle. That's pretty funny.
My daughter once, she went around to all of our lights and she put them in the middle. And then it's super funny. And then the circuit broke and I'm like, what are you doing? And I kind of snapped at her and she's like, I don't know. I thought it would be fun to put it in the middle. I was like, no, it's not fun to be in the middle. Trust me. So, you could create a matrix, but sometimes, so if you have a client, let's just say you run a business or you're taking on a client inside one of your programs where you're going to give them maybe some personal coaching or working with them directly. And you have an option to review whether the application or whether they're aligned. I think what's interesting is you could look at everything on paper and it could be a yes, but something inside of you could be run for the mountains, run for the hills, run for the ocean, don't take it. So on paper it could be a yes, but deep down it could be a no. I had one of these a couple weeks ago, actually. On paper it looks great, but it's no. And you can have the opposite be true, actually. You could have on paper somebody doesn't look like it's a good fit, and then inwardly you get a feeling hey, this is a yes. So So here's the secret technique I've used for the past 20 years. I'm sharing it for the first time online. It's nothing truly magical, but and before I share it, let me tell you how I found out about this. I was working with a healer probably in the year 2001, and I was in Hong Kong, and he introduced me to this field of kinesiology. And applied kinesiology is where you use muscle testing to determine whether something is positive or negative. So you could say, my name is Richard, and if you put your arm up and you test it, your arm will go strong. It's in highest good if I do this or do this. And so you can test different things. The person who's made this a little more famous in recent years is a person named David Hawkins, who wrote a book called Power versus Force. And I and many other books, they're all phenomenal. Highly, highly, highly recommend those books. But he basically said, look, there's a scale of consciousness, and anything has a vibration, and certain books have a higher level of consciousness than others. And he calls it a scale of consciousness, but it's an applied use of muscle testing. So coming back to the secret technique, the secret technique that I always ask, is it in highest, yes, it is in highest good for me to take this person on as a client. So I normally phrase it in a positive. Yes, it is in highest good for me to take this client. I ask that inwardly, and I've trained myself to kind of feel it kinesthetically inside my body. I can't really explain how to do that. And when I first started to do this, it was like touch and go, but now it's super clear. I say, yes, it's in highest good to take on this client. And it's almost like I get an energetic bolt from my higher self that says yes. And it's like, in fact, I will, yes, it's in highest. And before I even get the third word out, my body will vibrate strongly if I meant to take the person on as a client, or if it's in vibrational alignment. And there will be other times, yes, it is highest alignment, and bam, my whole body goes weak. And it's almost like I slump in the chair, and then it's like super clear. And then this third version, it's yes, it is in the highest alignment for me to go to Atlanta, neutral. It's like neutral, like what's neutral about? And so neutral is neither yes or no. And neutral often means it's not really going to affect you one way or the other. It's neither good nor bad. It's just neutral. And then you kind of have free will to decide whether you want to go to Atlanta, take on that person on as a client, drive here for a vacation, or go here or here. And so this is very different than taking a mental framework and like making a list of the pros and cons and kind of putting a mental construct. It's not that that's necessarily a bad thing. This is just another way to operate. And I normally, for all my big decisions in life, I operate and I'm always like, yes, it's in highest good for me to move to enter this city, enter this country, and I'll get a hit, yes or no. So it's been very useful to me as a way of operating. And there's pitfalls here that I'll share, and I'll share some of my stories of where things go really wrong with this technique, and where I've violated the technique, or not violated, I've not listened to the technique. And so I'm going to give you some more pointers. But before I do that, I'm going to turn it back to Kylie, because my sense is, I don't know that I've ever shared this with you. I'm kind of wondering what you're thinking, and wondering if you have probably your own way that you access your intuition that may be completely different from what I just laid out there.
Well, I like the system. You haven't really ever laid it out, although I know that you do that, because you'll come on calls and say, this sounded really good, but it's a no, or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, I can think of so many times where I got a no and was so grateful that I didn't do it. And I can think of so many times where I got a no and I did it anyways, and it was horrible. So with yes, it's pretty much a yes, and I do it and it's great. But the no is more interesting to me, because that's where I think that a lot of us get more resistance. It's like, oh, but I wanted to do that. And for me, it's prestige. If I want to work on a project that I think is prestigious, or is going to help me to move to another level of success or career or reputation, then I have a harder time when I get a no on that. I am like, are you sure that means no? And then sometimes I'm like, telling myself, oh, that wasn't really a no. That was just you. You were just kind of in a weird mood that day. Like it's really a yes or what. I start trying to game the system a little bit.
Yeah, so you've highlighted one of the downfalls, and this works really good
Yeah.
for dating as well if
Yeah.
you're single or whatever. So you can literally like vet things. And coming back to David Hawkins for just a second, the whole idea behind truth and falsehood is that the reason humanity has such a hard time is because the mind by itself cannot distinguish truth from falsehood. But if you connect to your higher self, to that source of energetic alignment with the energy, your body doesn't lie. There's a book by, I think it's John Diamond, called Your Body Doesn't Lie, which is it's one of the amazing books that you should read at some point in your life too. So this idea that somebody on the surface could be saying one thing, but below the surface, like, they're doing another thing or have other intentions. It's the mind can't figure that out, but energetically, it's already in the field, and so you can tap into what's not seen or not there. And so it's always funny to me when somebody lies to me, because I normally know right away, and I know that you can train yourself to like pick up on cues and whatever, but I just feel it. I just know right a lot of times. I'm not always, but when somebody isn't being truthful, or there's another intention that they're not stating, whatever it is, you can kind of feel that. So this idea of it's a no, but then you say yes, that's one of the biggest traps. And it will just grind you into the ground. It could be an investment, a relationship, a client partner, but let's just say it's a client. The two big traps here were often your mind wants to make it a yes, even though energetically you know it's a no, that I've fallen prey to. I'm not immune. It's a work in progress. And the first is it's money. Like one of them is like, I need this money for my business. I have overhead, or, oh my God, look at the potential of this project. If we take this project, we're going to be gazillionaires and have all these email opt-ins. And so sometimes the mind can be creative and spider out with the potential of it. But what it's not seeing is that, one of the partners is going to betray you, or that they're not going to do the work, or that the whole market's going to shift and this launch is going to be too late, or the person is telling you that they have a list of 50,000 people, but they've never emailed the list for 3 years and the list is basically dead. So there's all these things that you can't see, but so energetically it's there in the field. The mind will attempt to override something because of cash flow or resources or an email list or something like this. Yeah, so money is one of the big traps to really be clear of, and the more you chase it like that, the more you're going to push it away as well. So there's another, that's a different topic, but okay, so that's trap number one. Trap number two is status. Trap number two is it's this big author, it's this ex-presidential candidate, it's this spiritual guru, it's this author that sold 100,000 books. It's this person who was just on Oprah. And as an agency, we've managed a lot of different people, and like turning down a big name client can be really hard, but it could be, and you don't necessarily know why, but you can tell yourself, oh, but if I work with this client, then I can market them and do this and this, but you're not seeing that maybe there's an opportunity cost in that you could be writing your book, or there's another client here that can serve the world better. And so I think these two traps, the money or the status, or the client trap, you just have to be careful, because as you become more successful, it's almost like the universe is going to test you. I feel like it does that. Like the universe is here to test our alignment with source, and so we always want to be aligned with our highest source of wisdom, and we want to be using a heart, mind, and our soul to make decisions. And if those three things aren't in alignment, then you really want to say no. Now, the good news is once you figure this out and once you can tap into your own intuition, we should bring on a few more people to talk about how to do this and intuition. We've had a few people on. You can also check with channels and other people or mediums and all kinds of things. Feng Shui masters, like you can also use other people to check. It's an external source. But what I would say is once you have this down, it's really a superpower, because then you can be guided the right way. And then if a no is clearly a no, then it's easy. Like you get a no matter how difficult, no matter how much money is on the line, no matter what status it is, it's just a no. You just you just turn it away. And I would say as your nest egg grows and you have enough money, the money one kind of just goes away, because you'll never like sell yourself. Otherwise you're just I would say you kind of almost like, can I say prostitute your services? I don't know. It's like you're selling your soul basically at that point, for cash or for status. And so once you have a degree of success, once you're creating results, you never want to cross that line. And quite honestly, to get to that point, you have to hold that boundary, because otherwise energetically you're going to be leaking.
So true. I have this friend, I was talking to him yesterday. He called me because he was having an issue with a client, and he was like, they just don't pay on time and I have to ask for the money. And then as soon as he was telling me, I wrote her this letter, and he read me the letter, and it was definitely him being in his power. And as soon as he wrote the letter, she contacted him and was like, I have your other payment. And so I was like, well, you got into your power and the payment came through, but let me ask you this. If you were making $100,000 a year, would you have this client? And he was like, oh, no way. So it's like, sometimes you can also ask yourself that too. I mean, we have to do things for money sometimes. It's not to say that we should never do things because, we're providing a service and we need the money. Yeah. But it's kind of like as you grow and as you are able to then say no, yes, no, then it becomes more important. I think that's a good question to ask yourself. Like, would I be doing this if I had all the money in the world that I needed? Would I be doing this?
Such a great question to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's weird because I work really hard and I like nerd around with words all day long. And I'm like, would I do this if I didn't have to? And I'm like, what am I going to do? Lay around the beach in Tahiti or something? Like that sounds so boring. Like I can't even conceive of something like that. So it's interesting to then also position that intuition through that lens, I think.
Yeah. And sometimes it could be an and. For me, I was wanting, like I think that, we have a lot of clients, and so we're going to be adding a few private clients, and also, we're building up our mastermind because we want this amazing group. We want to be aligned and want to be helping like people who are creating breakout businesses in the world that are transforming and helping people to transcend, even go beyond transformation, transcendence. But sometimes it can be an and. So for me, like with the agency, I still have passion for it, but I also needed to start to write my books, And so as long as I was doing both of those, then it was like progressive. So, I want to make sure we finish the model so people have the full picture. And this will be an interesting discussion. If you ever meet me in person, I love to talk about this. So neutral, I'm always trying to figure if something's neutral. I'm always like, in the past, I would have probably moved more neutrals to yes. And now maybe older, wiser, more battle wounds. A lot of times I find that the neutrals don't really add anything, and I could be using my energy better in some area of like core competence, or I could be serving better clients, bigger clients, or just clients that are more aligned. And so for neutrals, I'm always like, what would make this neutral a yes? And if I can't find a way to make it a yes, then I kind of want to move it to no pretty fast. And so if it's not really a strong yes, then I'm like, okay, that neutral to me as I've gotten older has become no. But I always try to ask, well, if this is publishing company or if this is author, what would make this launch a yes? Well, maybe if it was, if it had this aspect, or maybe if it had this deal flow, or maybe if we were hosts on the summit, or, like I was trying to think through like what would make me really get excited about this project. Because I know that if it's a neutral and I go into a project neutral and then I bring the project to my team and I'm a neutral on it, I'm not really going to be serving the client to the highest ability. I really want to be like, I really want to be really fully committed. In fact, even the last couple months, I made this declaration to like double up on my commitment to all my current clients. Like let's just go all in and like I'll do everything I can to like get the results. And when I did that, it was like this flush of energy came up, and then it was like it was back, but like it was like a 10x me, version. So anyway, so there's that middle version, neutral. I don't know if you have any thoughts on neutral, because a lot of things are neutral in life. A lot of things it doesn't matter. Do I get takeout or do I make food here? Do I go on this date or not go on this date? Is this a breakout opportunity or not? And a lot of things are just neutral, and that's okay. But I think the more we go forward, the more strong yeses we want.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even sure if I feel neutral very often about anything.
Oh, that's so good.
I don't even know if I could identify it if it hit me like a 2x4, I'd be like, I don't know, it's yes or it's no. So I actually think it's really interesting. I mean, one of the things I learned from the Maori healers that we both know is like try to stay in a space of neutrality as much as you can. And so I do try to play that role of the observer of my own life. But as far as decision making goes, I don't know if I've ever gotten that as an answer. So I actually just find it very interesting. And I'm going to pay attention more just in case it does come up and I'm missing it,
Yeah.
Because it's subtle. I'm not a master of subtlety in any kind of a way. So
no, that's good. That's good stuff. Yeah. So so maybe neutrals that I think on or off is a better version, like it's I think I'm always trying to fight and for the underdog in some ways, so I'm like somebody that's struggling or maybe isn't the best client. I'm like, well, how can we help them to become a better, like I'm always like, that's why I was never great at hiring when I was younger. Cause I always want to like coach the person I'm supposed to be hiring, but as a hiring manager, you're just trying to hire the right candidate. You're not trying to like put that person through self-development and change them. You're just trying to hire the best candidate. So the last category is the yeses, and I think that's probably the easiest to understand. I think the dissonance that sometimes can happen with a yes, which is probably the most interesting category, is when your mind wants it to be no. It's like this client shows up on your doorstep and you're like, not another client. I have so much work. I don't need another person, or this person, like, who are they? Da, 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 da. And yet inside your whole body lights up and it's like, isn't it good to work with, X? And it's like, and you're like, what's going on here? And so those are the interesting ones. And those are the ones that you don't really know where it's going to lead. And I can share so many experiences, but we had a client project last year actually. And it was my mind wanted, we were so busy. We already had like 30 launches planned. And this client showed up on our doorstep with a sizable project for an area that I had no expertise in. And like everything on paper was like, no, it's not going to make any money. You don't have expertise. Da, 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 da. And every time I looked at the project, it was like my body was like plugged into a Tesla recharger or something like that. Yeah. And so we took the project. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this. I don't know why. Let's just try not to lose money. It was like literally like my thinking on this project. And literally it impacted, hundreds of thousands of people. It was a good project for our company. The client was amazing. And it was just because I got a yes, even though my mind wanted it to be no. And sometimes on paper, like we have another charity that we've helped out, a nonprofit. And on paper, we don't make any money. It's extra work, but I do it because I know it's aligned with like my, what I meant to do in the world. And so, yeah, they're a client. And when they reach out for support, I give them support because it's important to me and it's mine to do, so that's another case of like, just, overriding the mind that's going, just leave that. And it's too much work and da, 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 da. And, yet I know energetically it's in alignment. And maybe that client recommends somebody, or maybe it's 4 lifetimes from now, like it comes back. It doesn't really matter. It's more like it's the intention to be of highest service in the world is what's important with that decision, with the yes. So how does a yes come to you, Kylie? I'm curious.
I think it just feels right. It's like a feeling in my body and in my emotions. And also, less than feeling something, it's the absence of feeling the resistance or the knowing that it's not right also.
Right.
Because and one time I explained this, I had a speaking engagement. I was talking about divine guidance, and I was like, how do you tell the difference between guidance and your mind? Your mind tries to rationalize and explain everything, and when it's really truth, it doesn't do that. So that's been a lot of the ways that I've determined the yeses and the nos. Usually when it's a yes, it just comes in and there's no explanation. There's no like, this is why, this is how it's going to matter. If I'm telling myself stories like, this is how it's going to impact people and it's going to help people in this way, even though that sounds good, that's a lot of justifying something that I should just know and not need to rationalize or give reasons for. So I find that the absence of reason is usually a yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, look, this is such an interesting topic to me. So maybe go through, you can do inventories of different areas of your life, but sort of like business, you can go through all your clients, you can go through the programs that you're launching. You can go through, one of the challenges I have as an entrepreneur is I always have 10 new ideas. You can do it for new ideas and figure out which one is the one that, what should you be focusing on next? You can do it on that. You can do it on, vendors and staff and partners that you're working with, and just kind of look through so that you can kind of go through, and it's helpful to look, because sometimes something that could have been a yes 6 months ago, maybe a partner or a vendor that you're working with, now isn't. And so like, I think that's the other aspect that, what is it? The Taoist says everything's changing, and so this is why it's like a continuous process and practice. And that's kind of what makes it all interesting. Right. But remembering to kind of keep energetically clearing all of the different areas of your business, and I would say all of the different areas of your life, because we have to make so many decisions. And if you can make really the key to this particular podcast is if you can make better decisions, and a lot of times it's avoiding the ones that really could create a lot of trauma and pain.
Mm-hmm.
If you can avoid more of those, then a lot of the successes will just come to you. So this ability to make better decisions, it's, I think our schooling doesn't do the greatest job at helping people learn how to make decisions. And yet in our life, we have to make so many decisions on a daily basis. So the faster, the higher quality decisions you make, literally, it's the key to every millionaire, billionaire. It's the key to every spiritual teacher that makes a huge impact on the planet. It's the key to a lot of things in life. Is if you can make a decision that's even like 10% better than everybody else, then you basically can be a happier person and create the things that you want to create in life with less resistance. That's no small thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to give this information to you. It's kind of been interesting because I think this is one of the first times I've ever shared kind of how one of the ways I operate, my own business, and people are always like, how have you navigated your moves and this and this and this? And I just kind of shared in this episode, like the foundation aspects of that. So you can kind of take it and use it or not use it. It's totally up to you. Any final thoughts, Kylie? Because I know it's been interesting talking to you because you have a different way of perceiving. I'm sure everybody else on this listening also has their own different ways of perceiving too,
I think it's just a matter of everybody listening today taking this and getting it on paper or getting really clear on it, because we all subtly sabotage through not following a system like this. So really coming up with a way that you can track so that you can help more people, so that you can shine and give your gifts and do all the things that you're wanting to do and not get side railed by kind of missing the subtleties of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Conscious Marketer podcast. You can get this episode, the downloads, and also the show notes at consciousmarketer.com/podcast. Leave us a review on iTunes if you enjoyed something if it's been useful to you. And if you want to work with us, we have an accelerator. It's a 90-day program. And we also have a mastermind program that we offer for those who are wanting to scale their business and work on strategy and everything. That's a little bit more intensive. Just private message us if you're interested in either of those, or contact us at support@Conscious Marketer. Bye for now, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you.